In this video, in this series on significance of numbers and symbols in Vedic thought, we have looked at a few things. We looked at number 7, we looked at number 3, um, we looked at 0, infinity, and so on. So today, in this video, we'll look at number 4. First thing, straight away, say, it's not a prime number, right? So we talked about other prime numbers. We talked about 3, we talked about 7 and all that. This is not a prime number, right? That's the first thing I observed. And so I said, okay, fine. So we can split it into what? What can you do? So I can divide by 1 or 2. I cannot divide by 3. I'll get a fraction. But I can divide by 1 and I can divide by 2, right? So if I divide by 1, of course, I get 4. But if I divide by 2, I get 2, right? So what is got to Vedic thought? This is like I learned this in kindergarten. Well, I'm just talking about the number. So what does it mean? Well, one thing you notice is that if you go to some Hindu temple or something like that, the murti is there, right? So most of those murtis will have 4 hands. 2 legs, but 4 hands, right? So it's, who has 4 hands, Nobody has 4 hands. So why is it? So we say that in the Vedas also, and even in other scriptures of other thought processes, we say that man is made in the image of God, right? So if that is the case, are we talking about physically? Is that what we're talking about? Because we have only 2 hands, right? I don't know anybody who's got 4 hands. So I only 2 hands I've seen. So the question is then why do they show with 4 hands? What's with that? And the thing is, you have to understand that when we talk about a hand, like if I want to say give you something, suppose I want to give you a fruit or something like that. How do I do that? I don't do it with my foot. I don't do it with my mouth. I give it to you with my hand, isn't it? Right? So giving, all giving is done through hands, right? So when God gives us something, right? So you have to understand that when we talk about God, it's his form is jnana and ananda. That is infinite amount of wisdom and infinite amount of bliss. That's his form. We're not talking about like a physical form. So even though we may symbolically represent that in something, right? You cannot take any material object and say that, oh, that's God. That doesn't make sense. But symbolically, we may represent something just to show something, that's all. Or invoke the formless one in some form. So why are they using 4 hands then? Well, the reason for that is that according to our thought process, as a human being, we're not talking about dogs and cats and so on, but we're talking about humans. Humans have the ability, in the first place, in terms of form, we have a form, physical form, right? We have a physical form that closely represents the divine in the sense that we are able to stand up on our feet, right? And we are able to do things with our hands. Like even if you look at a monkey, right? For it to climb a tree or whatever it does, right, to walk, it uses all four, like both what you may call hands and feet, right? There are some animals that sort of stand up temporarily, right? But a human is the only one who really does not depend upon the hands for motion. I mean, you can walk on a hand, you're a gymnast or something like that, but normally we don't need that, right? So, what do we use our hands for? We use our hands for doing things, for giving things, consuming things, eating, and so on, right? In that sense, if we can give something to somebody else, we have only two things we can give. We cannot give all four things. We cannot, only two things we can give. Okay? What they are, I'll come to that in a second. But God can give us four things. And these four things, in Sanskrita, we call it Dharma, Artha, Kama, and Moksha. It's kind of hard to translate that to English. They're non translatable in a way, but I'll try. So if you look at, again, if you drive down to a temple or something, right? If you look at, normally there are other forms, but normally you'll find chakra in one hand on the top. On the top, there'll be two hands, right? On the top two hands, there is shankha and chakra, right? So these two things, shankha and chakra, what do they represent? They represent dharma and artha. I'll try to translate all these things to English in a minute. And then there are two hands pointing downwards. They're downwards. And they'll be carrying, like in one Padma, a lotus, and Gadha, a mace. So they're down, they're down, right? But top, the Shankha and Chakra. So the four types of things I can get. Again, in Sanskrit, that's referred as Chaturvidha. Chaturvidha means four types. Purusha Artha. Purusha, me, human. Artha, resource, right? So what we can be blessed with, irrespective of who you are. Now, is that like a 0 and 1, like either you're blessed or not blessed? Question is, how much are you blessed, right? The quantity, right, varies from person to person. But the types, what types of things can you be blessed? There are only four, just four. Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha. What are these things? Like I said earlier, if you take number 4, you divide by 2, you get 2, right? So if you take these 4 quote unquote hands, right? Again, don't take it literally and physically. There's nobody walking around with 2 hands holding up like this, 2 hands are doing it. That's silly, and nobody's doing that. Think of symbolism, right? So if you look at these 4 things, 4 things are on the top. Sorry, 2 things are on the top. So you can, in a way, divide it into 2 things, right? One on the top, one on the bottom. So there's 2 here and 2 here. Okay? So Dharma and Artha are in a way one unit, if you one thing. Kama and Moksha are the other thing, right? They're sort of like twins, they're connected, right? So let's start with the top ones. So when you look at the Dharma and Artha, Dharma, hard to translate to English in one word. Actually, it's impossible to do that. It's actually impossible to do that because that same dharma, it can mean nature, it can mean righteous living, it can mean so many things. It can even mean doing charity. It can mean so many things. But in this context, we'll look at, so What can I be blessed with? If I say that I'm blessed with Dharma, what that means is that I am blessed with the ability, the thinking process, the ability and the desire to live according to Dharma. So, what does it mean? Oh, you don't know what that means. Okay. Well, that actually, I forgot to mention that when I talked about number three, is that there are three types of Dharma. Right? There is what we refer to as Vayaktika Dharma, there is Samaja Dharma, and Sanatana Dharma. So, Vayaktika means personal. So, when you talk about Vayaktika Dharma or personal Dharma, what we're talking about are those values which I hold very dear to my heart. Because everything we do, everything we think of and, attempt to do and all that is all sort of driven by my value system. You know, there's some things I will not do, as tempting as it may be, I will not do that because it goes against my value system. Like, for example, let's say, um, I really, really like a mango or something like that. I'm trying to give a silly example. But so, and somebody is walking there, keeping it. So they're not looking, as a tasty mango, and they just take it and run away and eat it. Because here, where Dharma enters into the picture, is my value system that says, do not steal, is overcoming this desire for eating a mango. Right? So this value system is very important. So this personal value system, my personal dharma is very, very important. What drives that is the knowledge I have, jnana, right? The more jnana you have, it's more likely that you have a more refined set of values, right? Otherwise, you're driven by instinct. See, our instinct says, do this, do that. Like if you're hungry, it says, eat, right? Whatever, and it doesn't matter. You say, yeah, but that's not my food. It says, eat. That's instinct. Is that hungry? Eat. Or something else. I can think of other examples too, but my values are no, 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 no. Don't do that. Don't do that. Right? So that self control comes from that value system. And we all, as humans, unlike animals that just go by their instinct, we have been blessed with an intellect which I should use to define what is right and what is wrong according to this internal value system. That is Vayaktika Dharma. That's one type of Dharma. Secondly, there's what we refer to as Samajika Dharma. Now, that society values. Now, in any society, the wise ones, well, I'm not so sure about that looking at politics, but at least hopefully, the wise ones in society will get together and say, what is good for society, right? So they should come up with a set of values, whatever they may be, and say that you can do this, you cannot do that. You can think this, you cannot, whatever, right? You can say this, you cannot say that, and so on. So those set of values that are not dictated, but suggested, mandated sometimes in society is also important. Now, if there's a clash, if there's a clash between societal values and internal values, right? That's when we struggle. You say, society says something, but internally, I have my values say, don't do that, whatever, right? So, how do we deal with that? The best way to deal with that is both of these things, if they're aligned with Sanatana Dharma. Now, Samaja Dharma, societal values, changes from time to time, one place to place. It depends on the place, right? Like you cannot, like in the southern part of the US where it's warmer, if you say to do something, you have to wear a t-shirt. You cannot mandate that in up north, right? It's a cold place. So there, if they say you have to wear a sweatshirt to do that, you cannot say, yeah, so it applies to everyone. No. Each place, and that same place at different times will have different set of mandated values. And that should depend upon what the wise ones in that society feel is best for the majority of the people in society. That's fine. But the question is, these Sanatana Dharma, the societal values and personal values, right? If they resonate with what we call Sanatana Dharma, which is eternal set of values. So these values are true for humanity. It doesn't matter which country you come from, it doesn't matter what your culture is and so on. It applies to all human beings, and it applied in the past, it will apply in the future also. So those values that are eternally true, whatever they may be, that collection of those things, the collection of those values is what we call Sanatan Dharma. And that is a Vedic way of life. So we said we don't like the word Hinduism, that's randomly somebody said that. We try to call it Sanatan Dharma, which is eternal, a way of life that sticks to values that was always true and will always be true. So that is Dharma, that's one thing. And that is actually represented by chakra. So that's why even if you look at the Indian flag, right, there is saffron, white and green, and in the middle there's a chakra, right, like a wheel. So that wheel represents that dharma. Then its twin on the other side is artha. Now artha is a resource. So this is number 2, right? Again, if you don't have a resource, where is the question of dharma? Like for you to do anything, for you to implement a set of values, be it at societal level or at an individual level, you need certain resources. I'm not talking about money. Money is not the only thing. Money is one type of resource. You need the knowledge, for example, right? If I say, oh, you have to do this, I may say, okay, but how do I do it? That I may not know, right? So you need that resource. For example, we are sitting here recording this talk, right? How are we doing that? I don't know how to do it. I have no clue. I'm clueless. But there is a person who knows how to do it. He's done that before. He knows how to. So that is a resource. If I don't have that resource, I cannot do this, right? So artha, resource, is not just about money. You need money also. For example, food to eat. See, you may have all the money. It happens, right? Like during COVID, it happens. Suddenly, people take away all paper towels or some random thing. So you have money. You have the money to buy, but it's not available, right? So it could be food grains. It can be anything. So availability of resource, both physical and non-physical, is an essential part, is very essential for doing dharma. So those two things are balanced on the top. So that's what gives me, well, you say, why is it on the top? Because the shoulders in Vedic thought represents strength, right? Symbolically, it represents strength. So what is it that will give me strength? What gives me strength is a balance. It's a balance between those set of values that is aligned with Sanatan Dharma. My personal values aligned with that, right? See, now I have no clash because mostly I'm aligned with the eternal values and society also aligned with it. So we're all one happy big family, right? Everybody looking in the same direction, right? So that set of values and the resources to carry that out, right? So that gives me strength. in life. I'm not talking about physical strength. It gives me strength, mental, spiritual, physical, everything to do what? The question is, okay, fine. Yeah, that's right. To do what? What are you going to do with it? Now we look at the other two things I have to be blessed with. One is karma, the other is moksha. What are those things? Karma, we talked about that in one of our previous videos, but karma is desire, right? The question is that desire that you're blessed with, that wanting some, right? What should that be? I can say that, oh, I want to enjoy life. Okay, fine, good for you. You say, I want to eat good food. So, okay, fine. You may have so many other temporary material enjoyments. You say, but do you want to be doing that all day long? Like if you say, I like some gulab jamun, right? Okay, fine. So as long as that is touching my tongue, I'm enjoying that. That's all, right? When I'm picking it up, I'm not enjoying. When I swallowed it, I'm not enjoying. It's only when I'm contact with the tongue, so that's temporary. Now you said, no, I want that to be permanent. What are you going to do? Sit all day long with a gulab jamun on your tongue? So obviously you cannot do that, right? So many of these things, the desire that I may have for temporary things cannot be a full-time activity. So the question is, what is your goal? These are diversions. Anything material is a diversion. Diversion from what? It cannot be lethargy. You cannot say that, oh, I will enjoy it. What will you do in between? I'll just lie down, take a nap. No, no, no. No, what's the point in living? Right? So the karma, the desire, has to be something much, much bigger. Much bigger. Right? So what is the biggest thing I can, the biggest thing that can help is moksha. So what is that? What is moksha? No proper translation to English, but the closest I can think of is salvation. So what does that mean? Okay, fine. So why should I aspire for that? What's the point in that? Well, the thing is that when you talk about human experience, right? What is there are different types of things I can experience. I can experience enjoyment, I can experience happiness, or I can experience bliss. That's it, right? So, what is it that gives me enjoyment? Enjoyment, like I said a minute ago, is temporary. It's just temporary. So, when you're in contact with something, you enjoy that. Sometimes people spend 10 hours, 20 hours to enjoy something for 1 minute. Just for 1 minute, right? For that, you'll work for 10 hours or do something for, sometimes we do for a lifetime, but enjoy something for 5 minutes or 10 minutes. But there's a second type of experience, which is happiness. Some things will make me happy, right? When I think of something, I'm not in contact, like I can sit here, um, I don't know, think of something I did yesterday, something good I did yesterday. And not only it gave me enjoyment at that time, but it's given me happiness today. It's a lingering thing in your memory, right? That is still making you feel good. So we're talking about feeling good. Enjoyment will make you feel good, excited at that moment. Happiness will do it afterwards also because there's this lingering effect. But even that, so who is a person? Is there somebody who's just like you cannot enjoy something 24/7? Can you be happy 24/7? No, no, nobody can. You'll be, at some point, you'll be unhappy. You're happy now about something. Tomorrow you're about unhappy about some situation or something. Right? So that's going to happen. It will happen to all of us, right? So is there something beyond that? Beyond that is bliss. In Samskrita, we call it ananda and bliss. This is the steady level on which I ride, right? So my status, my steady status in existence, if it gets higher and higher and higher, even when things go up and down, I never go negative. I may go down, but I'm not going negative. Not because what makes you unhappy is going negative, not coming down. Like, suppose I have $100, right? And I spent $10 and I'm left with $90. You may say that, okay, I'm down by $10. I lost $10. But you say, yeah, that's okay. I still have $90, right? But suppose you have only $10, and not only did you spend the $10, but you had to borrow another $10 because you needed 20. Now you're in debt minus. So how much money do you have? Say, minus $10. That's not a good thing. That'll make me sad, right? So similarly, in my mental and spiritual, emotional state, I can be positive or negative. That's not strictly a function of whether you're going down or up. Like if you go to from minus 30 to minus 10, you're still at minus 11. Something good happened, you're still, you see this all the time, right? You look at people, some good things are happening, they're still sad people. You say, what's your problem, dude? I mean, so many good things are happening. Why are you sad? Well, because their steady state is so negative that even this positive thing did not, this positive going thing did not bring them to positive territory. On the other hand, there are people who it appears like some negative things are happening, they're still happy. Right? Well, why are you happy? You have no right to be happy. Well, I'm happy. You're not going to stop me from being happy. Why not? So because that steady state is very high. Moksha. Moksha is blending, blending with the infinite. Even though I'm not capable of experiencing infinite bliss, coming in contact with coming together, even with my finite thing. So what happens? It's like if you take a cup and you can put drops in that thing, and a cup may be 1/4 full, you know. But how do you make it completely full and guarantee that it's 100% full? If you immerse it in a bigger vessel of liquid, right? Similarly, the biggest vessel of jnana and ananda, wisdom and bliss we can think of is God. So if you're immersed in that, you'll always be full. You're not infinite, but you'll be full. So you're completely full with jnana and ananda. That is moksha. So when I have kama, a desire to go towards that state, these two work hand in hand, right? I may do other things, I may do small things. I may enjoy it. Nothing wrong with that. Absolutely nothing wrong in going after something that is enjoyable or something that makes me happy. That's all fine. But the ultimate goal, ultimate desire has to be moksha, salvation. So this four is very, very important in Vedic thought. Every time we do something spiritual, we say, please give me all four. Please bless me with these four things. Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha. And that is why in the Murti you see four hands representing those four things. That Gada and Kamala, Padma, they represent, Kama and Moksha. And on the top, Shankha and Chakra, they represent um, Dharma and Artha, right? So this is about number four. And hopefully another day, another video, we'll look at some other number.